Good evening, ladies and gents, and welcome to another Q8 pilot stream. It is 1700 hours Zulu, 2000 hours local time here in Kuwait City, Kuwait. I want to welcome all of you guys in chat this evening. Boeing Corp, Mike, Rand, Cooley, welcome aboard. Rashal, Chris Trouble, welcome. Thomas Badger, welcome guys. Kim 3, welcome aboard. Hello Stan, welcome aboard. Hello Atul, welcome aboard. Our friend from India, welcome. Glad to have you here. Hello Chris, welcome aboard. Captain Caker, welcome. Glad to have you guys here. And today, ladies and gents, we are going to be taking the Queen of the Skies for a tutorial flight service from Charlotte Douglas International to John F. Kennedy Airport in the United States. This stream comes as a special request from one of the moderators and from a guy behind an emerging channel, no other than our very good friend Drashal, who's with us here on stream this evening. He has requested that we do this flight today, so I'm fulfilling your request today, Drashal, and I hope that you will all benefit from this tutorial flight. Here's what we're going to be doing today in our flight. I'm going to be only assuming that you are able to create your flight in SimBrief. I will take you through the process of downloading the flight plan, where you need to place it. We're going to go with a very detailed startup procedure. We're going to perform all the available tests aboard this rather remarkable 747 for X-Plane 12, and of course we are then going to we'll be going through all the checklists that are integrated into the aircraft. I hope that you guys enjoy it, and with that, let's get started. First, let's take a quick brief. Let's hop into the cockpit and take a quick look at this. It's a bit loud due to the rain. So let's take a quick look here at our flight plan. Let me remove the charts here. I was studying the charts there for our departure, which is quite necessary. And guys, if you don't have Navigraph charts, I suggest that you get it because Navigraph charts has really evolved over the years to become an essential tool for flight simmers. Not only does it have the charts for your departure, the charts for the airports, the approach plates, but it also has some very useful information for beginners if you are not very comfortable with radio navigation or INS. You don't know how to calculate your TOD. It gives the telemetry information provided in Navigraph is very, very useful, and it is very user friendly. It allows you to read information very, very easily during your flight. Our flight today is from Charlotte Douglas. Marginal VFR conditions. Today we are departing runway 18 left through the Barmy 5 departure and the Tango Yankee India transition. We are going to be cruising at a final cruise altitude of 36,000 feet and arriving into John F. Kennedy Airport, runway 13 left through the Carmen 4 arrival. We are going to be performing an ILS approach today, and hopefully we'll be able to expose all the aircraft systems during our flight. All right, so the first thing you need to do is you need to head over to SimBrief, and you need to file your flight plan. Again, very easy. I know it says here 39,000, but we're just going to go for 36. You just need to make sure that you select the 747-200 from the menu for the aircraft, your departure, arrival airports. Next, you're going to go to flight plan downloads, and you're going to scroll down until you see X-Plane 1112, and make sure that you don't select this one that says no SIDS and stars. Select this one here. Once you've downloaded the flight plan, head over to your X-Plane installation, and then go to the output folder, FMS plans, and paste the flight plan there. This is, as you can see, the flight plan that we're flying today, KCLT KJFK 01.fms. So make sure this is that the flight plan is in your FMS plans inside the output folder of your X-Plane 12 installation. We'll get to that a little later during the flight, but let's get things started. Okay, so we're through with that, and we are good to go. We are using Active Sky today, And the first thing we want to do is we want to turn on the battery switch so that we can hear the interactions. So we're going to come here. I'm going to explain this to you guys in a little bit. I know it looks very daunting, but it's very simple once you get used to it and understand the different panels. We're going to zoom in here. You see the DC meters and the battery switch is located right here. We're going to click on and close the guard. And next, we're going to head back to the electronic flight bag. And we're going to go to ground. From the ground, we're going to ask the ground crew to set the chocks.
Cockpit to ground. Put the chocks on.
And connect the GPU.
Cockpit to ground. Connect ground power.
Chocks are on. Ground power connected.
All right, so now we have confirmation from ground services that the chocks and the GPU are on. And next, we're going to go to the payload. Now, there are different ways that you can do the payload, but the easiest way, guys, is to simply look over your SimBrief plan. So we're going to come here and we're going to say View SimBrief Operational Flight Plan. And I'm going to just put this here so you guys can follow along. Okay. All right. So now we're going to scroll down here to passengers, cargo, all of that stuff. We're going to go ahead and select the number of passengers. And then I'll show you how to match the resulting zero fuel weight. So we're going to put 331. I'm not sure it takes that many. Yeah, I think it does. All right, so let's go to 331 passengers, 331 passengers. There we go. And then the cargo to load is 18.2. So that's 18,000, about 19,000. Now, if you look here at the result zero fuel weight, it does not match this one here. It's slightly more. And this is because the passenger weight is different from what SimBrief has. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the result zero fuel weight to match 462. So we're going to just use the mouse wheel to put 462, and it will automatically change the cargo load 462. There we go. So now we have the proper weights there. All you need to do now is say instant board and load, right? We have 331 passengers and we have the cargo all set. And we are now ready to start the cockpit preparation. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do is we are going to head to the engineer station. Now, I know that the engineer station is quite complex, but if you understand the different panels, then it becomes easy. This panel here in the top left corner is the auxiliary power and the APU. So this is auxiliary power and APU. This one here is the electrical panel. Your gens are basically the bus ties, and the gens are located in this panel here. And if you go here, these are all your engine gauges, the N1, oil quantity, oil temperature, oil pressure, and the engine breather or the engine air are located here. Down here, you have the light controls and some radio switches here, VHF1, and this is normally used by the flight engineer. You have one also for the first officer here and for the captain as well. So that is this panel. Moving up here, you'll see that the passenger oxygen here, galley power is located here. This is all to control the galley power. Moving down here, you'll see the DC meter. This is for you to check the load on your battery, your APU gen, and so on and so forth. Hello, Swarty. Welcome aboard Flight Aviation Simulation. Welcome. Glad to have you here. And guys, I'm not going to pay too much attention to chat right now because I want you guys to benefit the most from the stream. So we are going to kind of just go, and then as we go, I'll make a little bit of pauses there and ask you guys and see if you guys have questions. Okay, so the DC meter here obviously is going, you can see, by the way, that there is a negative charge right now because we haven't yet connected the external power. So we'll get to that in a minute. In fact, let's go ahead and connect it now. So we're going to connect the ground power. there. Make sure that are set. Okay, so now we have ground power unit connected, and now you'll see that there is a positive charge. So again, this aircraft is very detailed and very, very accurate. Okay, moving down here, you have the standby power ESS buses. Down here, you'll have the, again, all of this is related to the electrical power. AC meters, again, you can check your gens. The fuel panel, this whole panel here is your fuel panel. Okay, so you've got your fuel pumps here, you've got the fuel heat here, and all of these gauges there to indicate how much fuel is used, how much fuel, what is the fuel pressure, and so on and so forth. So now it's starting to make a little more sense. Right here is your air conditioning and the air conditioning and pack control. It starts from here all the way down here. So you can see here, this is the recirc fans. You don't really need to worry too much about, you know, these gauges here. Everything's in normal. Just leave it in normal. And then you have the APU bleed, and the engine bleeds are here. The pressurization panel is set right here. Moving over to this side here, you have the... Let me just move on. All right, so you have the equipment cooling. The engine fire tests are located here. The cargo fire protection here. Wing overheat right here. The main generators, APU generators are here with all the indicator lights here. Moving down here, you'll have the hydraulic system with the brake pressure, the normal brake source. So this is hydraulic pressure for your brakes, and then the electric pump hydraulic system 4, which we will take a look at in a second. Your hydraulic system is located down here, hydraulic quantity. So all of this here is hydraulics. Brake temperature monitor is located here. Anti-skid is located here. Landing gear data is here. And then you have the APU hours located here. The flaps, everything related to the flaps, the body gear steering is here, and you have the fuel jettison panel located here. You've got your circuit breakers. They are visually modeled but not functional over here. And then this is the cockpit door. So with that, let's get started and let's perform the initial tests and set up the aircraft. So the first thing we're going to do is the before, or the, if we go to the checklist here, what we're going to be doing first is the before start checklist for the pilot, and then we'll do the before start for the first officer, or for the flight engineer. Okay, so the pilots first, and then the flight engineer. So we're going to come back here. We have already connected the ground power to the aircraft. We have AC power now, and everything here looks good. The galley power, we're going to go ahead and turn those on. The galley power control to override mode, and the galley chillers are going to be turned on. DC bus isolation valves are in the closed position. We can still see there's a positive load there. We're going to put the standby power to normal, and then we're going to come down here and we're going to check the gauge for the oil temperature gauge, just make sure that it's operational, which it is. And we can put this on external power, and we can see now we have a positive charge there. Everything looks good. Excellent. We have the fuel, and the fuel is not yet set. So let's go ahead and set our fuel for the flight. We're going to come back here and go to refuel. And if we look at our SimBrief plan, we need 66.6 thousand pounds of fuel. So we're going to put 60 calculated fuel. So what we want total fuel is 60. We're going to put 67. And automatically, if you put 67 here, it will tell you this is how much fuel we have on board. And they built this EFB to be smart, and it will automatically drain this much fuel. So we're going to say instant refuel. And now we have a total of 67,000 pounds in the aircraft. This is going to translate into fuel and to the right and left wings, as you can see here, and the center wing is going to be empty for this flight. So now we can come right here. We can see that we have the proper indication of the fuel and the gross weight of the aircraft. We can click here now and press and hold until the test starts, so you can test that the fuel gauges do work. One of the interesting things about this aircraft is you've got analog gauges everywhere except for the fuel, where it's digital. That's kind of strange, but very true to the real aircraft. Okay, so everything here, and we can click here on fuel used reset. Okay, now we can move here to the overhead panel. There is nothing that we need to do at this point. We're just going to make sure that the pack valves are closed and the bleed air switches are all in the off position. The Althorn cutouts switch is located here. Next, we're going to set the pressurization for our flight. Flight cabin altitude is going to be 36,000 feet, and the baro is, we're going to go to Charlotte and click on the weather. The altimeter is 3011. Okay, so 30, that's 3010, and that's 3011. Now, the outflow valves can be tested in the auto mode. When you click here, you'll see that both of the valves open. And if you want to check them individually, then we go to manual left, and then we can close it and open it. And we can do the same thing for the right outflow valve, close, as you can see here, and click here again to open. We just want to make sure that the manual operation works. And now we can set this back to auto. All right, perfect. That is done. We'll worry about all these tests a little later. Nothing here. We can go to the electrical pump. We're going to turn this on and turn the air auto pump on. The reason why we do this is we want to make sure that we're able to check the brake pressure. Now you can see the low pressure blinking light has gone away. And this indicates now that the brake system aboard the aircraft is pressurized. All right, perfect. Let's go back to the engineer station. And we're going to just look over here. We're going to make sure that the lamp test here for the flight data recorder works. We're going to test the anti-skid and potable water. We have full water in the aircraft, and we're going to open the jettison panel and make sure that all these switches are in the closed position. Perfect. Now that we're done with the engineer panel for the time being, we're going to come here to the overhead panel. I just really love the texturing that they've done on this aircraft. Now, the circuit breakers up here are in-op, so they are visually modeled, but they don't actually do anything. Good suggestion, do some planes now. Still use C-VINS. Yeah. Okay, so let's come down here, and we're going to take a look here at the overhead panel. We're going to begin with the normal flows in a Boeing aircraft. So it is normally top to bottom, left to right. Flight control, hydraulic power, all the switches are on. The spoiler switches are on. The yaw damper switches are in normal. The auto brake is off. This aircraft does not have a rejected takeoff, so you just leave this in the off position. The anti-skid switch is on, and the body steering is armed. Next, we're going to come here, and we're going to set the ADDONS to align. We'll make them, we'll put them in nav once we have the 3 green lights here, so you have to wait for the alignment to complete. Engine ignition are all in the off position. And the alternate gear switches are all off at this point. We can click here to reset the buttons here. This is on VHF 1 and VHF 2. Nothing we need to do there. This little radio equipment here is visually modeled, and you can move the switches, but they don't really do anything. So we'll leave them alone. The well wheel fire detection test is done, and the flight recorder, cockpit voice recorder test is done as well. Perfect. Next, we are going to arm the emergency lights.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. On
And
behalf of
captain
the entire
announcements.
crew, welcome aboard the Boeing 747 Classic. We will depart shortly after we have our clearance and the cabin crew is finished with their preparations. For now, I wish you a pleasant flight, and I will be back during the flight with further flight information.
All right, perfect. So we're done with that. Non-smoking signs, fasten seatbelt signs, and we're going to lock the cockpit door. Everything here looks good. And next, we're going to come here. Again, the switches here are off. Everything here looks good. Alternative flaps are off. Leading edge are in the off position. We're going to come and turn on the radio master buses, 1 and 2. And next, we can do the stall warning test. Right, stall warning test complete. Mach warning test. Excellent. Over rotation test is done. Next, we're going to check the wing anti-ice ground test. Checks okay. Excellent. And we're the probe heat test as well. Right, checks okay. Next, we're going to come down here to the window heat and turn these on and perform the power test. Power lights and overheat test. All checks okay. Excellent. Next, we're going to test the lights here. Make sure everything works, which it does. And we can now turn this off. Perfect. We're going to turn on the nav lights on. And next, we are going to head over to the... all right, let's test our INS devices real quick. Okay, so test... Okay, checks okay. Test checks okay. And the third unit checks okay. Perfect. Coming down here, we're going to set the EPRL mode to go around. And we're going to set the weather system to standby. And we are going to make sure that the transponder is also on standby. All right. The next thing we're going to do now is we want to enter the aircraft's current position to achieve the alignment. So to do this, we're going to need our Navigraph charts. Another reason why you should get Navigraph charts is because it's got all those coordinates that we're going to need. So we're going to go to flight. We're going to select Charlotte Douglas. We're going to go to the taxi section. Then what you want is the parking gate coordinates. We're going to click on that. And if you look outside, if we look outside here, we are currently positioned at stand Delta 12. All right. Back in the cockpit, what we need to do is we need to enter the coordinates of Delta 12 into the INS. So if you look here into your chart, you'll see that in Concourse D here, we have the north and the west positions in minutes and seconds for this position. So from D11 or D11 through D13, this is the position that we need to enter into the INS. And that's exactly what we're going to do. So all you need to do here is switch this to position. Now you'll see that you have zeros for both the north and east. Well, it's going to be north and west. And now we're going to key in the first position. So we are going to say north, and then we're going to enter 35132, 35132, insert, and then we're going to select the west position, and the west position is 080564, 080564, insert. And now this is the first position. So this is position 0, as you can see here. So if you look here, this is position 0, and this is what the aircraft INS device will use in order to complete the alignment. Now you need to do this on all 3 devices, okay? So as per real life procedures. So again, we're going to come here to the position, and we are going to begin with north. And the north is 35132, 35132, insert, and then the west coordinates are 080564, and insert, and now we have that here as well. And we're going to come down here to the third INS device, And we're going to also go north, and we're going to enter 3535132 and insert west is 080080564 and insert. Now we have all three INS devices with the position of the aircraft. And if you look here now, we have the third one isn't yet there. So we'll wait for the third green light to come on. It takes a little bit of time, so we'll give it that time. All right. The next thing we need to do, we need to check the instruments here. So we need an ILS frequency. Any ILS frequency will work. So what we'll do is we're just going to go to the approach. We're going to select 18. Left, the frequency is 110.35. So 110.35. Right, so that's an ILS frequency. Now you can see the instruments here. And if you click here, it will test the display. And next we're going to also check here. There we go. That checks okay. The current altimeter is, if we go to the weather here, is 3011. So let's go ahead and set that 3011, and then we test the height there. All right, that works okay. Perfect. Next, we're going to come here and we are going to test the warning light. We see the warning light works. Perfect. And the altitude alert test is set. Ground proximity.
Pull up. Glide slope.
Excellent.
Glide slope.
And the rudder ratio test. As you can see, it illuminates in the CAS messages there, rudder ratio. All right. All of these are tested. And now we can move on to this section here on the first officer's side. Then we can go to test. There we go. And we can also, we need 110.35. Okay, there we go. All right, so that's done. And we test the height there as well. And everything here checks okay, perfect. Now, one more test we need to do. Engine number 3, the engine 3 lever is connected to the takeoff warning test. So we move that. There we go. Right, we'll put it back, and then it works okay. And everything here is checked. Okay, so everything here is done. We've tested everything here. We can test the TCAS there as well. All right, and let's cancel the master caution.
TCAS system test okay.
All right, so we've performed all the tests now necessary for the first engine start here. So we're going to come to the checklists, and before start checklist for the pilots. And we are going to start, let me just make sure that we've turned those on. Yes, we did. Okay, so let's go ahead now and go through the checklist.
Before start checklist, please.
Gear lever and lights.
Down and check.
Brakes.
Parked.
Start levers.
Off.
Radios.
On and check.
Flight control hydraulic power.
On.
INS.
Damn.
Okay, so the INS, the reason why it says damn is because it wants it in nav, and now you can see that we have all three green lights, so it is now ready to go to nav mode. So nav,
check and
nav. There you go.
Compasses.
Slaved.
Window heat.
On.
Seatbelts and no smoking.
On.
Emergency lights.
Armed.
Exterior lights.
Check.
Flight instruments.
Check.
Altimeters and clocks.
1, 0, 2, 0. Set and cross check.
Radio INS switches.
Radio.
Radar and transponder.
Standby.
Indicator lights.
Obviously,
Check.
it's a long
Engine
checklist.
and wing anti-ice.
Off.
Stall warning.
Check.
Mach airspeed warning.
Check.
Auto brakes.
Check and off.
Body gear steering.
Arm.
Anti-skid.
On.
Autopilot and flight director.
Check and off.
Takeoff warning.
Check.
Auto flight enunciators.
Check.
GPWS.
Check.
Instrument warning.
Check.
Flight director computer selectors.
Check.
Instrument source selectors.
Normal.
Reserve brake valve.
Closed.
Spoilers.
Down.
Static selectors.
Normal.
Oxygen mask and regulator.
Check and emergency off.
Brake pressure.
Check.
Stabilizer trim.
Check and on.
Rudder and aileron trim.
Check.
Checklist completed.
All right, so the checklist is now complete. And next, what we're going to do is we're going to establish power now through the APU. We're ready to go now. It's a rainy day, so passengers are probably warm in the cabin. We don't really need the air conditioning system. So we're going to go to the next checklist, and now you can see this is the flight engineer test. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do now is we're going to go back to the overhead, to the engineer station, okay? And we can now perform the test, squib test here for the APU. Fire A, fire B, fault, and we can come here and do the combined test. There we go. And now we can start the APU. We're going to hold the switch there for a second until the fuel valve light is extinguished. And then you can see now the RPM starts. And also, if you look at the back of the aircraft, you'll see that the APU is now starting. Look at how majestic this aircraft is. Wow. Just absolutely lovely. All right. Back in the cockpit, we're going to go back to the engineer station here, and we're just going to look at the RPM here. Right, we have the RPM is now full, and now we can start the APU bleed. APU bleed is on, and now we can start the APU. So close, close, close. Now we have the APU power connected to the aircraft. Perfect. Bleed air is on. And the APU gens are on. As you can see here, we have a positive charge on both. Perfect. Nothing to do here yet on the electrical panel, and everything here looks good. Nothing here. By the way, you can do the light test here just to make sure everything works. All right. And you can also control the lights here on the engineer station. All right. Next, we're going to come here. Oxygen, passenger oxygen is normal, and we can see it there indicating 20, which is good. The galley power is on. Galley control is on. Everything looks good here. The chillers are on. And now if we come here and go to APU battery, we can see there is a positive charge there on the APU battery. So everything's working as it should. And here APU gens 1 and 2. Again, everything looks good there. Okay, we can come here to the fuel panel. No, I can't recall if we need the fuel panel. Let's see here. No, I think the fuel panel, that's before start. Yeah, I think before start we need the fuel panels. So let's go ahead and turn on the fuel panels. We're going to come down here. And there's one thing I need to explain to you guys in a second. So boost fuel pumps, this one we don't need. There's nothing there. Now, one thing you'll notice is that we have 16,000 pounds of fuel here and here, whereas we have about 13,000 in the outer tanks. And on the reserves number 4 and 1, once we are airborne and we start burning a little bit fuel, we're going to move the fuel in these reserve tanks to the main tank number 1 and number 4 to keep the aircraft balanced. Okay, so that is done. We're done with the fuel here. We don't really need anything. The packs can remain off. for now. We are going to come here and let's do the squib test. Left, right, and then we're going to do the engine fire test. There we go. There we go. And bell reset. All right, perfect. We can also test the equipment cooling for smoke and the out test. Okay, no airflow. Perfect. So that works just exactly as it should. We can test the cargo heat, the aft cargo heat. Again, we can see the lights illuminating, and then we switch this to normal. Perfect. The squib test here, again, for the lower cargo fire protection system. Test A, test B, and both test together. And we can also perform the squib test, bottle 1 and bottle 2. They are both operational. Coming here to the wing overheat, system test 1 and system test 2. Perfect, those work exactly as they should. And we'll reset and read here. The anti-skid, there's nothing you need to do there. We've done this, but we can do it once more here just to check these tests here. And the potable water we've also done, so we are good there. All right, so everything here is now set, and now we can go to the glare shield here and key in the information. Now, the flight directors, we can keep them off for the time being. The heading selector is set to runway heading for our departure. The course we'll leave alone for now. 36,000 feet is our cruise altitude today. And the switches here is on heading, and this is off. The switches here are both on radio, right? So we'll leave them on radio for the time being. And now we can go and start the checklist, the before start engineer checklist. Right, let's go ahead and start.
Battery on. APU panel. Check. Auxiliary power. Check. Engine oil quantity. Check. Fuel quantity. 6,6,9,2,7 pounds. Fuel panel. Check and set. Pressurization controls. Check and set. Bleed controls. This.
Bleed controls. What is it complaining about? We have this is on. Why is it complaining? I'm not sure why it's complaining about the APU bleed. APU gens are on. Right, it does that sometimes. All right, we're just going to say check.
Hydraulic quantity. Check. EPR computer. Go around. Circuit breakers. Check. Indicator lights. Check. Electrical panel. Check and set. Air conditioning controls. Check and set. Fire control and wing overheat panels. Check and set. Equipment cooling. Check. Passenger oxygen. Check. Hydraulic panel. Let's see.
So on the hydraulic panel for engine start, we forgot to turn off the... so let's
and set.
Let's turn that off.
Fuel jettison panel. Check.
I'm not sure what happened there.
Battery on.
We'll just start it again.
APU
Something
panel.
went wrong.
Check. Auxiliary power. Check. Engine oil quantity. Check. Fuel quantity. 6,6,8,9,6 pounds.
Why does some of the lines for the automated
Fuel
voice
panel.
sound like Q8?
Check and set. Pressurization control.
That's funny.
Check and set. Bleed controls. Let's see.
That's checked.
Hydraulic quantity. Check. EPR computer. Go around. Circuit breakers. Check. Indicator lights. Check. Electrical panel. Check and set. Air conditioning controls. Check and set. Fire control and wing overheat panels. Check and set. Equipment cooling. Check. Passenger oxygen. Check. Hydraulic panel. Check and set. Fuel jettison panel. Check. Crew oxygen. On. Oxygen mask and regulator. Check and emergency off. ADPs off. Checklist completed.
All right, so the checklist is completed, and the next checklist is the after start check. Okay, so if we look here, I really am not sure why it's complaining about the ABU bleed is on, and yeah, I really am not sure why it's complaining about the... All right, so we're ready to start. To start the engines, we're going to come here, turn on our beacon lights on, and we're going to make sure that the jetway is moving away. And we can also disconnect the ground power and the chocks. So we're going to come here to ground and say remove the chocks.
Cockpit to ground. Remove the chocks.
And disconnect the GPU.
Cockpit to ground. Disconnect ground power.
Okay.
Chocks removed. Ground power disconnected.
All right, ground power is disconnected. Everything is good. And we can now start the engines. First, let's bring up the better pushback.
Hey, Captain,
Start
let me know where you
push.
want this thing. Great news, Captain. Your tow's coming. All right, looks like the doors and hatches are closed and we're ready to connect.
Right, the tow is in position, and we are ready to start the engines. All right, to start the engines, we're going to come here, and we're going to turn the start valve needs to go open to the open
Ready
position.
to start the engines.
Ready for engine start.
Okay, we'll just wait for clearance.
Welcome aboard, Captain. Tow's connected, bypass pins inserted. Go ahead and kill the parking brake when you're ready to go.
All right, parking brake is set right here.
Parking brake released.
Here comes the pushback. Light them up.
All right, we have clearance to start our engines. We're going to start with engine number 1, followed by, engine number 4, followed by 1, 2, and 3. So this is engine 4. Why is it not starting? That's very strange. All right, let's see now. That's very strange. Why is it not starting? We might need those valves open.
Starting engine 4.
Starter valve open.
There we go. All right, so we just needed to open close the bleed valves, bleed air. Okay. So we're good. Open them. So we opened the bleed air switches, and now we should see the N2 rising. So there's no checklist that tells you to open these until after the start checklist. So that's the reason. All right, so we'll wait here. 20%.
20% and 2.
All right, 20% N2. There's one thing we forgot to do, which I will show you guys.
Fuel on.
All right.
Light up.
So now for the INS, we did the position, but we did not enter the rest of the waypoints. To do this, the
Just
easiest way
about
to
done
do
here.
this.
Go ahead and set your parking brake.
Okay, let's set the parking
Parking
brake. All right.
brake set.
So the easiest way to do
And
this,
we're
guys,
disconnecting the tow.
is
Give me just a
to
moment.
go to Open Flight Plan.
Engine
Remember the
stabilized.
flight plan that we've downloaded earlier, KCLT JFK01? We're going to click that, and now we're going to click right from 2. We're going to click on that, and now if you go to Waypoint here and cycle through, you'll be able to see all of them. This is going to save you a lot of time, as opposed to just really entering each coordinates one after one for your entire flight. We're going to put this on waypoint. Let's put this back on 0, and we're going to put this on the time, and we'll put this one, we'll leave this one on position. That's fine. Let's disconnect, and we can now start the engine number 1.
Starting engine 1.
Starter valve open.
Right, valve open, and we can watch the N2 rising here.
And we're disconnected. Signal and pin on the right. Take it easy and have a safe flight.
All right, thank you very much. We'll wait for N2 to reach 20%.
%, and 2.
All right, and we can give it fuel now,
Fuel on. Light up.
and we'll wait for the engine to stabilize.
Starter off. Engine stabilized.
Starting engine 2.
Starter valve open. %, and 2.
Fuel on. Light up.
Starter off. Engine stabilized.
Starting engine 3.
Starter valve open.
Cabin crew, take your seats. Cabin crew, arm slides.
All doors are closed and armed. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your free flight attendant. On behalf of our captain and the entire crew, I wish you welcome on board. Please take your seats and fasten your seatbelts. Also make sure that your tray table has been stowed away.
20%, and 2.
Fuel on. Light up.
Request that all attention as our cabin crew will
Starter off.
Insert the metal fittings one into the other and tighten by pulling the loose ends of the strap. To release your seatbelt, lift the upper portion of the buckle. We recommend that you keep your seatbelt fastened while in your seat. If you are seated next to the emergency exit, please read the instructions on the safety of board card. You will find it in the seat pocket in front of you. If you do not wish to perform the functions described in the event of an emergency, please ask the flight attendant directly. There are several emergency exits on this aircraft. Please take a moment to
Engine stabilized.
the nearest exit. Exit may be behind you. If we need to evacuate the aircraft, floor level lighting will guide you towards the exit. Doors can be opened by moving the handle in the direction of the arrow. Each door is equipped with a replaceable slide. This may also be detached and used as a rod. In the event of a decompression, oxygen mask will appear automatically in front of you. Start the flow of oxygen, pull the mask towards you. Place the mask over nose and mouth, adjust the headband and breathe normally. Although the band does not inflate, oxygen is flowing to the mask. If you are struggling with children or someone who requires assistance, please secure your own mask first before helping others. Keep your mask on until the crew member advises you to remove it. In the event of an emergency, please assume the brace position. Lean forward, with your hands on top of your head, and your elbows against your thighs. Ensure your feet are firmly placed. The life vest is located under your seat or between the armrests. When instructed, open the plastic bag and remove the vest. Lift your head through the opening, fasten the strap around your neck, and attach it in front. We are at the door opening. Inflate your life vest by pulling the red tag. More air can be added by blowing into the tube. Using the whistle and light will stretch section. All electronic devices must be set in airplane mode during flight until further notice upon arrival. Please let me remind you that this is a non-smoking flight. Also the use of electronic cigarettes. Tampering with smoke detectors located to the left ring is prohibited by law. You will find it and all the other safety procedures in the safety of board flight, located in the seat pocket in front of you. We advise you to read the card before taking. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask one of our people. We wish you all a pleasant flight.
After start checklist.
Flight recorder.
On.
Start switches.
Off.
Beacon lights.
On.
Brake pressure.
Check.
Start levers.
Idle detents.
Engine anti-ice.
Off.
Electrical panel. Check. Pack valves. Open. Dual warning lights. Out. Hydraulic panel. Check. Flight recorder. On. After start checklist completed.
Flaps 10.
Taxi checklist, please.
Flaps. Flaps 10.
Flaps 10.
Takeoff data, EPR and airspeed bugs.
Hold on. Set and cross-check.
Stabilizer trim.
Set in green band.
Probe heat.
On.
Flight controls.
Check.
Yaw dampers.
Check.
Seatbelt and shoulder harness.
Check.
APU. Off. Fuel heat. Off. Totalizer
Looks like
and gross
the
weight.
mic
Set.
was off, so sorry
Flight
about
engineer
that, guys.
and pilot panels. Check. Aft cargo heat. Normal. Seatbelt and shoulder harness. Check. Taxi checklist completed.
All right. So the after taxi checklist is complete, and next is the before takeoff checklist. Now, one thing to note in the before takeoff checklist is the body gear steering needs to be disarmed, and we can only disarm this once we are actually lined up on the runway. So we're going to leave everything as it is here for now, and we're just going to move. We're going to go to the right before the runway, before we enter the runway, and we'll run the before takeoff checklist. So for now, everything is set, and we are ready to go. So let's go ahead and release the parking brake.
Parking brake release.
Parking brake is released, and we are good to go, folks. All right, let's give it power. All right. And here is the turn for runway 18 left here at Charlotte Douglas International. Perfect. Let's line up. And landing lights are on. Runway turn off lights. Strobe lights are on. Excellent. All right, we'll do the before takeoff checklist here once we line up. All right, perfect. All right, so now we can turn off the body steering, and we can go to now the third one.
Cabin crew, take your seats.
All right, so cabin crew are notified. Cabin alert done. Transponder goes to TARA. Okay, and then we're going to move up to the overhead panel.
Cabin ready.
All right, cabin ready. So all these need to go to flight start. And on this side as well. Flight start is set. Okay. And body gear steering is disarmed. And we need to turn off the packs. All right, packs are off. And everything is ready here. Let's go to start.
Before takeoff checklist.
Icing considerations.
Check.
Cabin alert.
Check.
Transponder.
Check.
Ignition.
Flight start.
Body gear steering.
Disarm.
Pack valves. Closed. Pressurization mode selector. Auto. Fuel boost pumps. On. Cross feed valves. Check. Before takeoff checklist completed.
All right, folks, we are finally ready to go. So we are going to release the brakes. Let's give it power here.
Stabilize.
Engines are stable. There we go.
Cross set.
knots.
Check. Thrust hold.
V1. Rotate.
Rotate.
Positive rate.
Gears going up.
Gear up.
All right, that was a beautiful departure. All right, let's make the turn here. And here we can show you what we're doing here. So if I scroll out, let me remove the... all right, so that's us right there. We're going to continue the climb and make the turn towards our first waypoint. We're going to rely pretty much here on the instruments due to the weather conditions. We can pitch down a little bit. That's a bit too much. All right, there we go. Let's retract the flaps.
Flaps up.
Right, speed is good. Right, perfect. Speed is good. All right. Now, what we're going to do, folks, is we are going to turn this to...
Gear
Let me
up.
put this to the off position. Let's make sure that we're good here. All right. And what we'll do is we're going to turn on the autopilot. We are going to select INS. Go to INS here as well. And then we can go to change waypoint 1 to 2, insert. Right, and then we're going to go to IAS. We're going to hold this speed and continue the climb to 36,000 feet. Okay, IAS is set, and Alt select. There we go. Flight directors on. There we go. Now, if you look on the Navigraph charts, here we are flying towards Meshi, the first waypoint in our flight plan. And we also have the distance to the next waypoint.
10,000.
All right, we're going to come down here, set this to climb, and we're going to turn on the packs. And fuel heat goes to auto. There we go. Let's make sure the flaps are retracted, which they are. And now we can go to the next checklist, which is the after takeoff checklist.
After takeoff checklist.
Gear lever.
Off.
Landing and logo lights.
Damn.
All right, so we can turn those off.
Off.
Ignition.
Check.
Seatbelts and no smoking sign.
Check.
Pack valves. Open. Fuel heat. Auto. After takeoff checklist completed.
All right, and the after takeoff checklist is complete. look at those wings, guys. Yes, we are using the SIVA today for the flight, the INS device. Got to be careful in rain clouds near freezing temperature. That's how you get... Yeah, definitely. All right, we're climbing now to our cruise altitude, and everything's looking good. All right, one thing that you need to be very aware of and quite careful about is the fuel in these two tanks. If you forget about this, the aircraft is going to get in a situation where there is an imbalance. So my recommendation is to always open the reserve valves and let the fuel fill in the number 1 and number 4 tanks right after takeoff. All right, cabin pressure. If we look here, the cabin pressure is good. We're looking good here. Altitude is fine. The differential pressure is good. And everything is per design intent. Perfect. Right, we're approaching 18,000 feet. We're going to set baro to standard, 29902. And 29902 is set here, and 29902 is set there as well. Perfect. All right, everything's looking good. Would have preferred Aer Lingus for this flight and the route from Dublin to Heathrow. I think I've done an Aer Lingus flight in this aircraft. I'm not sure. I think I have, but I'm not for positive. Well, I'll let you guys enjoy the beautiful climb to our cruise altitude and check back with you just a little later. All right, and back in the cockpit, we continue our climb to our cruise altitude. What do you guys think so far? Pretty cool aircraft, isn't it? All right, now I can take a look at your questions. Would have preferred airlines. I think we've answered that one. Gauges everywhere. Yes, it did. It's got a lot of gauges, for sure. Our weights complex because there is something used for training pilots. Yeah. Info says SIVA has a remote function to populate waypoints and DME info. Guess I could watch you programming. So what we've done in this flight is we programmed our initial position here. So you can, by the way, go to the status here. But normally what I do is I use the position in order to put the initial waypoint, which is required for the INS to complete the alignment. Then you can simply load the flight plan there instead of because it would obviously be a very long stream if I had to go and enter each one of these waypoints north. So I showed you how to do the first one and then how to load the rest without having to enter each one of them. But you can pretty much enter all of them as your heart desires. Now, the only thing you'll get when you switch this little button here from radio to INS is you get the actual distance to the next waypoint. And if you look outside now, here, let's zoom out, you can see that we are flying on the path. It's a little bit off, but not a big deal. It will follow the flight plan that we put there, pretty much. Okay. So now for our arrival, we need to do a few things because again, you cannot really, this aircraft, the INS will not fly the SIDS and stars. So those are kind of, manual. So one thing we want to do is we want to come to the airport, the flight here. We're going to go to JFK and we're going to go to the approach. The approach is 13 left. Today, so we're going to click here, and this is 13 left. Now, one thing we have here is we have a VOR station. This VOR station is at 115.9er. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put 115.9er here. That should give us the distance to the VOR station on DME2 and on DME1, but we need to make sure that it's on. Let's make sure it's on. Yes, it's on norm. That's good. And we're going to put the ILS frequency at 111.5, 111.5 here. We can change that later, but we'll leave it at 111.5. The course for the arrival is 134 degrees. So we'll set 134 here just in preparation for our arrival. 134 is set. There we go. Okay, perfect. 6,000 feet to go. We're looking good. Everything is exactly as expected. Just beautiful aircraft. This Felis 747 is by far one of the best add-ons created for X-Plane. It is truly a very complex aircraft that requires a learning curve without a doubt. Let's turn on some lights here. Maybe a little bit dome lights. Let's see here, center console. Yeah. And there we go. Some panel lights here as well. That should improve visibility overhead. And there we go. Right, let's go look at that. Pretty cool, huh? Yeah. And we can turn on some lights there as well for better visibility. There we go. All's looking good. everything in this aircraft is done so well, in my view, to create a very authentic experience. The sound, if you look at the cockpit of the 74 Classic, 747-200, very, very similar to what you see here. The sounds are very well made. The panel work is very nice in the cockpit. And now the passenger cabin isn't all that great, but I really don't care. The cockpit is what matters to me the most, and I have to say that it's done very well and quite nice. Look at it looks so old and so rusty. So yeah, it definitely is an aircraft that passes just on all criteria for being a complex and an add-on that is worthy of the asking price by the developer. Thank you very much, Fly with Lotto. Appreciate it, my friend. Q8, when will the IXEG 7000 be flown again? Whenever you guys want. Yeah, whenever you guys like, we'll definitely do it. Were you able to get the 777 version 2? No, I have not applied for the alpha. We need a 742 real soon. Right, looking good. Looks like it's a cloudy day. And 36, the platform altitude, if we look here, is 1500. So 70, about 105. So about 115 nautical miles out, we should begin our descent. Right, 1,000 feet to go.
1,000 to level off.
Look at those clouds. Those sounds are just amazing. All right, we look here, we're still in IAS. All right, alt select is there. We can come down here and we're gonna select speed, cruise, and we're gonna go to, you'll see that this will turn off the speed selector here. Ah, we forgot to change this. Maybe 284. It's fine. 280. All right, 280, and we'll go to hold. There we go. Okay, so we are in speed mode. Speed is set to 280 knots. And nav speed, the auto throttle is in speed. Everything is now working exactly as it should. And about 77 nautical miles for the next waypoint as per our INS. All is looking good. Excellent. Q8, what is better, the Flying JSIM Q4XP, the IXEG, or the Felis? You're flying right now. Oh, that's a tough question. I think they're all three of them are just great add-ons for X-Plane 12. My favorite, of course, being the Q4XP, but that does not take anything away from the IXEG or the Q4XP. Now, the IXEG has some missing things in terms of the systems, but they're all great. If I were to choose one of them, so if you gave me a single choice, is like Q8, I can buy one of these three. Which one would you buy? Personally, I would go for the Flying JSIM Q4XP. It's just it happens to be my absolute favorite. But the 747 is just, this Felis 747 is just absolutely amazing. It is really an amazing aircraft. The depth of system simulation is outstanding. Right, speed is stable now. We're looking good. And if we look here at our flight path, you'll see that we are right here. So there is a turn coming out pretty soon. You can see the distance to destination is about 367 nautical miles. And the weather is quite nice. I'm liking those clouds. Hey Timo, how are you, my friend? Can't wait to refly this route with the Felis when I come home. Happy flying, my friend. Right time to try to buy all three soon in this order. 742. Yeah, so you want to go for the 742 first, then you want to go for the four. Actually, that's a pretty sensible order. Yeah. Here's our turn. All's looking good here. Now, by the way, when you switch this to radio, the INS device will still work if this little knob here is in INS. So that is not going to change anything other than the fact that you will not get the display here, the miles to the next waypoint. That's the only thing that you will not get. Now, because this aircraft does not use SIDS and stars, you are going, once you near your airport, you're going to heavily depend on radio navigation. And for this reason, we've set up the VOR station to JFK because we want more situational awareness as we are closer to the airport. The SIDS and stars will not work, so the aircraft, the INS is not going to fly the SIDS and stars. But yeah, all is good here. And one thing I noticed also is that the replay does not work with this aircraft. I've tried everything possible, it just doesn't work. So we're probably going to have it without the replay today. Another thing that worthwhile mentioning is this aircraft does have random failures, and you'll need to have your chocks and brakes set in order to perform maintenance. Now, this is the service area here. It says set parking brakes or chocks to operate. Actually, you need both. But you can see here the hydraulic quantity, oil, and the engine oil as well. You can go to the failures page. There are no failures. Earlier today, there was a failure in the slats. The slats kind of went inop, and I didn't know why. And then I went to the failures page, and sure enough, there were a couple of failures there, and I had to deal with the situation. But yeah, overall, really, the electronic flight bag is again done very, very well. I really like it. You can, by the way, go to a load sheet here, and you can very granularly set the passengers and cargo in the cargo holds, the cabins, the upper deck. You can do that all manually here, which is pretty cool. It's got a fuel calculator as well, if you choose to do that, to aid you in setting up the aircraft. I prefer the fast way as the fast load here, or that we go to payload refuel and do an instant load and fuel. That's my preferred way of doing it. Do you plan on flying the X-Works A300-900 again? If you guys want, yeah, why not? I am planning on flying the Flight Sim Studios E170 in an upcoming stream, possibly on Tuesday, to showcase the brand new features. The FMS speed now works, and all right. The FMS speed has been programmed, and they've made some really, really nice changes to the cockpit textures. It's starting to look really good, starting to work very well, and with those features, I think I'm ready to tell you guys that go ahead and invest in that aircraft. I think the guys over at Flight Sim Studios have really proven that they will never abandon this project. They are pretty much hard working on updating it, and I think it is in a state where it can be enjoyed. I am going to be doing a test flight before the stream, and of course report back to you guys once we are on stream. I'll report to you, but it's starting to look really good. Try the default A330 again, and it's not bad. The sounds are actually quite good. Yeah, the sounds are very good on the default A330. They are developed by Daniela. Daniela has been working with, she's the one that created the soundscape in X-Plane 12, as well as she's been working very closely with Laminar, and she's also an active member of the Arabesque team. She does amazing sound sets. Very, very cool. Yeah. Q8, will you check out the X-Works A340 soon? I really don't know. I mean, those add-ons they don't really offer much in terms of system simulation. They are based on the A330 by Laminar, and they haven't really brought in, other than the visuals, they haven't really brought in any additional systems. So, for example, the Zibo is quite an advanced aircraft. It is based on the 737 base model from Laminar, but today it is one of the most complex study-level aircraft for flight sim, and it's totally free, which is amazing. Whereas the X-Works aircraft is just really the visuals. It flies like the A330, performance data is A330, so I don't know. What do you guys think? All right. If we look here, you'll see that the descent to destination, we're still all right. 307, we're still looking good. Look at those clouds. Looks pretty cool, huh? We can see active sky loading the weather. Oh, that is a nice scene right there. The they got the accurate thrust for the CM56, maybe you could do a runway challenge with it. I might take a look at it. Boeing is finally getting rid of the 737 for a 797. Ooh, that's news to me. Look at those engines, guys. All right. Now I think you can see the cockpit textures a little more with the sun there, with the sun casting on the panel. Look at this panel work, guys. Look at how beautiful it is. I mean, it does look really, really old. Absolutely brilliant stuff there by Felis. Hey, Mr. Guy B. Welcome aboard, my friend. Right. Okay. So, if we look here at our destination, 275 nautical miles, we are approximately, let's take a look here, about 30 minutes before we arrive into John F. Kennedy. Now, once we are somewhere here, right there at the transition, what we'll do is we will switch to VOR lock so that we can have the VOR station here. So we're going to track the Kennedy VOR, and then we're going to turn to a heading of 009er from Culver, and then 040 to intercept the boson boson, and then we're going to make the turn towards the ILS for runway 13 left. Yeah, should be good. Should be all right. We're going to come down here to the EFB, and we're going to performance calculation. We're going to go to the landing performance, and we are going to say read data from the sim. All right. And now we can, of course, we'll do this again for a more accurate calculation, but we can see here the results. Clean, 233 at 213, flaps 1, flaps 5 at 193, flaps 10, 173, and flaps full 138. That's pretty low, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, we'll read this from the sim. That changes things just a little bit. Right, perfect. Goodbye, Sporty Aviation. Take care, my friend. Right. So on Tuesday, we will be flying the Flight Sim Studios Embraer, and then down the week we might be doing a flight, taking a look at Parallel 42, the recent changes that they brought to their ProFlow software as well as some of their best scenery and the new sim effects recently introduced for Microsoft Flight Sim, which brings a host of effects, visual effects, such as the engine splash, tire splash for takeoff, landings, helicopters. It really does change things in Microsoft Flight Sim. It makes it a little bit more, realistic and immersive. So we're going to take a look at that hopefully in an upcoming stream here on the channel. For those of you who were asking me about the plaque, the 100,000 subscriber plaque, UPS is going to deliver it on the 7th of May. And once it's here, I will be sure to make a short video to show you guys the plaque. I know a lot of you guys have been asking me to show them the plaque. So once it's here, I promise you I'll make a short video and show you the plaque. Hello, Black Shark. Welcome aboard. Thank you very much, Apple's 321. Hello there, Lewis. Welcome aboard. Welcome, guys. Right. So all is looking good here. Such a humongous aircraft. So big. By the way, we can go to, if we go to unlock the door here, right, we can open it and we can wander about the cockpit, the cabin. There you go. Here's the upper deck. Again, very old seats, and that's the stairs going down. Let's see here. There we go. We can go down here, and that's the lower deck. Again, by the way, not bad. It's not bad. I mean, they've modeled the entire cabin. So not really bad. It's all right. Not exactly high fidelity, but who cares, right? I mean, the cockpit is the most important thing. And you can come here and take a look at those beautiful engines there. Look at that. Yeah, I quite honestly don't care much about passenger cabins across the board in any aircraft. It just doesn't really matter to me. Right, let's close the door. I mean, look, even the airworthiness certificate is posted here, which is pretty cool. Look at that. I love this, this kind of detail is really, really cool. All right, I'm going to come back here and lock the cockpit door. Perfect. All right, we are, if we look at our Navigraph charts here, you'll see we are currently, where are we? We're still here. Okay. All right, so we're still looking good. 1388, 218. We're looking at about 100 and maybe 110, maybe 120 nautical miles. We'll begin the descent. So far we're looking all right. And we cannot still see the VOR station that we've logged for JFK and the DME, so we're still a bit far from the airport. I can't drop X-Plane 12 over MSFS X-Plane 12. I know that many feels like MSFS has better graphics, but the sim in X-Plane 12 is amazing. I agree. Yeah, same. I have the option to disable it. So start pushing more detail into geometry like flight factor. starting to see. So far, all is good here, and we'll begin our descent shortly. So I'm gonna let you guys enjoy. I just need to do a few things, and I'll be right back. By the way, we can see now the DME here for the VOR station, 188 nautical miles. All right, let's take a look here. 165, we're still looking good. Osama Mohammed, how are you doing, my friend? Welcome aboard. Hello there, Josepella. Welcome. Now, I did notice that at JFK, the FPS does suffer a little bit with this aircraft, so it is a little bit resource hungry. So, yeah, you might encounter issues at really complex scenery, such as JFK, which is quite complex. So, yeah, I mean, it does go down to the 40s, something like that, 30, upper 30s, lower 40s in terms of the FPS. All right, we can actually begin the descent if we look here at our Navigraph charts. Let me set this up. All right, so if we look here, we can see the descent to destination is about 2,000 feet per minute. We are about 140 nautical miles from the airport. And to begin the descent, we can descend now. And what we can do is, there are two ways we can do the descent. One is we can go to Alt Select and do VS, or you can start actually reducing the altitude like that, and you'll see that, you see how it's begun the descent there? So now we can reduce that further. And once you see that the rate of descent is about 1,500, then we can scroll down all the way to our final platform altitude of 1,500 feet. There you go, you see that? And now the aircraft is descending as it should. We can always use the vertical speed to begin the descent, but if you just simply select, go to Alt Select and just make small changes to the altitude, once you see that the vertical speed has changed, then you can move it a bit faster to the to the desired altitude, which is in this case 1,500 feet. Right, so we've begun the descent. I'm fine at 30 FPS. The human eye can't really take more than 24. See, 24 at 30 FPS is okay. but not for X-Plane, because with 30 FPS it's pretty jittery, and I'll tell you, my eye can definitely detect it, even when it's maybe when it says 30 FPS, it's actually not 30 FPS, but definitely it. All right, so 120 on DME2, we're seeing 120 nautical miles. This is the JFK VOR station. So this is, if we look here, let me go here. All right, so if you look here, this is the station. This is the VOR station here that we're tracking right here. JFK JFK VOR 115.9, and this is what's showing on on DME2. Here, 116 nautical miles. And now if we look here, it's still showing 115, 240. We can actually use vertical speed to increase the rate of descent if we so desire. We can go to vertical speed, and we can reduce this to 1,000, maybe 2,000 feet per minute. Let's go right there, 2,000. There we go, 2,000 feet. I'm flying from KCLT Republic Airways. Cool, happy flying, my friend. That approach plate view is really cool. It kind of reminds me of ForeFlight. Yeah, I think Navigraph has really done a very good job over the years bringing Navigraph charts to this level of detail as well as features. I think it's an essential tool for flight simmers, especially. By the way, for beginners and avid flight simmers alike, I think it is really, really a very, very useful tool. All right, looking good. 2,000 feet per minute. It might be. It might be. Every setup is very unique and very different in its own way, that's for sure. Welcome, Joshua Franklin, to the Q8 Pilot channel. Yeah, and with Navigraph, I update every month the AirX cycle, which is also called, yes, very, very essential, without a doubt. 25,000, we're getting pretty close now. Look at those beautiful clouds. Overcast conditions look like. Let's take a quick look at the weather at JFK. Let's see here. All right, so let's go to weather. The weather is 130 degrees, 13 knot winds, so a bit strong winds there. 10 nautical miles, few clouds at 2,700, overcast at 7,500, altimeter 3033, automated station with precipitation, disclaimer sea level pressure. Okay, that's fine. All of that is fine. So yeah, a bit of a strong winds as we arrive. Hey, Carl, how are you doing, my friend? Kuwait, did you get access to the 777 version 2? I joined late. Not sure if you talked about it. Black Shark, I have not applied for the Alpha, no. All right, still looking good, 23,000 feet. About 87 nautical miles from JFK. Right, we're looking good. 21,000. All right, here we go, 20,000. Now, for the arrival, we're obviously going to switch to radio. We already have the frequencies set. And we'll do the descent checklist a little later. So if we come here and go to the descent checklist, and next one is the descent and / approach. One of the things you'll find here is that we need to switch to radio. We've set the bugs. We can go back here to performance, set the bugs. We can read from sim. Obviously it has changed now, the landing weight. And now we can set the bugs. And everything here is set. Right, we're approaching 18,000 feet, the transition altitude in the US. Quick look here at the other 3033. Okay, so let's set the altimeter 3033. Right, 3033 is set and cross-checked. Right, 3033, and let's set it here as well, 3033. All right, there we go. 3033 is set, and we're going to also set the auto brake to medium. And we also might start reducing our speed. So I'm going to go ahead and set 250 knots. There we go. And now we are reducing our speed as we descend to our platform altitude. All right, still 2,000 feet on the vertical speed. 60 nautical miles from the JFK VOR. Good evening, Neil. How are you doing, my friend? Does anyone know why it's called bugs? Yes, I know, just want to hear the chat response. All right, we're getting pretty close now to JFK 13,000. We might use a little bit of the speed brake here to reduce the speed. We can go to climb, deeper mode. All right. We'll use the speed brakes to reduce our speed. Looking good. We can reduce the rate of descent a little bit to maybe 1,500 feet per minute. There we go. We're going straight to the VOR station, as you can see here. All right, we can retract the speed brakes now. Perfect. All right, so we are at 250 knots, approaching 10,000 feet. Let's go ahead and turn on the landing lights. And we're going to also turn on non-smoking and fasten seatbelt signs. We are going to come here and turn off the fuel heat. So fuel heat can go to the off position.
10,000.
All right, 10,000. And landing lights are on, and we can go for the checklist here. I think this needs to go to the EPR, needs to go to go around mode. All right, and we're going to come here, and we are going to go for the checklist. Start.
Approach checklist, please.
Seatbelts and shoulder harness.
Check.
Seatbelts and no smoking signs.
On.
Anti-ice.
Off.
Exterior lights.
Check.
Outer brakes.
Medium.
Radio INS switches.
Radio.
Flight director computer selectors.
Check.
Brake pressure.
Check.
Spoilers.
Armed.
Altimeters.
1027. Set and cross-check.
Landing data, EPR and airspeed bugs.
Set and cross-check.
Seatbelts and shoulder harness. Check. Fuel panel. Check. Fuel heat. Off. EPR computer.
I don't
Go
think
around.
that the 727 is going to be a
Cabin
free upgrade. No, I
Check.
really don't think that.
Circuit breakers. Check. Approach checklist completed.
Oof, the weather is pretty bad, isn't it? Right, we're going to continue the descent now. If we look here, we're still looking okay. We're going to turn to a heading of, let's see here. Let me set the bug to our current heading. Right, there we go. Excellent. Looking good. And we're going to reduce our speed to 240 knots. The descent checklist is complete, and the next is the landing checklist. All right. What we can do, folks, at this point is we can select heading and fly the current heading. So if we go to heading mode here, we're going to go fly this current heading. And if you look outside here, this is the ILS. So we're going to continue on the present heading, and then we're going to fly a little bit to a heading of, it will be actually the opposite of 090. Okay, course is set to 134. We can reduce the rate of descent now to 1,000 feet per minute. There we go, 1,000 feet per minute. And that should help us also reduce our speed. Are you guys hearing the sounds from this stream? I think Rand has sent me a message. I just saw the message saying there are no sounds from the stream. Are you guys able to hear the sounds of the stream of the actual airplane? We are in heading mode right now. Sounds fine. I hear fine. Okay, perfect. All right. So we are almost at our platform altitude there. I'm going to reduce this to about 500 feet per minute. There we go. And maybe we can
1,000 level off.
actually put this at 2,000 feet. There we go. Altitude alert. That will take us to 2,000 feet. And if we look now, we are actually looking pretty good. So I'm going to change our heading to a heading of 0. Zero to 0. There we go. 020. What? Alt select. Alt hold. And we're gonna just stay at 2,200 for now. All right, 240. So if we look at our altitude alert, if we look here at our performance data, we can actually so let's go to flaps to 213, 213. And we're going to go to flaps 1.
Flaps 1.
There we go. We're going to also select ILS. All right, let me go to Alt select here. There we go. All right, we're looking good. $14 nautical miles from the JFK VOR. And we have the ILS. Let's just double check the ILS frequency here. 111.5. Approach course is 134 degrees, which is correct. All's looking good. All right. Beautiful New York. Let's go to a heading of 040. There we go, 040. And we're going to reduce our speed to, let's see, 173, flaps 10. All right, that's 173. And let's go to flaps 10.
Flaps 10.
All right. Now, if we look here, you'll see the this is the entry point, so we should be able to capture the ILS in just a second here. We're going to turn to a heading of 130. As soon as we see this little line moving towards the center. There we go. Actually captured the
Localizer alive.
localizer alive. Excellent. And we can go to land. And we're going to reduce the speed to 160. You can see the frames are suffering now. And we're going to go to 153. There, 153. And flaps.
Flaps 20.
That's 13 left right there. Right, 1,500 feet. Not sure what it's doing, but I'm going to turn off the autopilot. Okay. Really, I'm not sure why it hasn't captured the ILS, but that's the runway right there. So let's go ahead and lower the landing gear. Set my view. And we'll just manually fly the aircraft. Let's go to the approach speed of 133 VREF.
Gears down, green light.
Right, 133 is VREF.
Flaps 25.
Bit too low.
Flaps 30.
Right, flaps 30.
1,000.
Landing checklist.
Right, there
Gear.
we go.
Down and check.
Down and check. Flaps.
Flaps 30.
Flaps 30. Ignition.
Flight start.
Anti-skid.
Check.
Altimeters. 1,027. Set and cross-checked. Landing checklist completed.
Definitely some wind there as we come into land. Right, we can turn off the auto throttle. You know, considering how big the 747, you wouldn't expect it to,
500.
you know, to be so sensitive to the wind. But that tells you how strong the wind is. We'll give it a little bit of rudder.
50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Bit of a float there.
Check reverse.
And there you have it. Welcome to John F. Kennedy Airport, ladies and
Off,
gents.
reverse. Auto brake off.
Sorry guys, there's something just
60 knots.
Alright, there we go. Let's make the turn here. Can retract the flaps. We're not even going to attempt to do a replay today.
Flaps up.
Alright, let's see here. Alright, there we go. We'll just make a turn here. Look at guys, there's an A380 right there. Alright. Right, we can turn off the landing lights. And all right, we'll just park here by the A380. And set the parking
Parking
brake.
brake set.
Excellent. We can turn off the, let's see, strobe lights off. All these lights are off. And we can kill the engines. Let's make sure everything here is off. Yep. We can connect the ground power unit. So let's kill the engines and go to ground.
Cockpit to ground. Put the chocks on. Cockpit to ground. Connect ground power.
All right, they'll set the chocks and the ground power unit.
Chocks are on.
And the ground power unit is connected. And we are all set, guys. We can turn off the nav lights and release the passengers. There we go. Actually, one more thing. Let's turn off the beacon light. All right. And there you have it, ladies and gents. The full tutorial flight aboard the Felis Boeing 747. I hope that you have found it useful and insightful. If you have any questions, as usual, please do post them in the comment section below. I'm not sure why the ILS acted funny towards the end, but nonetheless, a pretty pleasant flight. We probably should fly this aircraft more in the near future. And I want to thank you very much for tuning in this evening. Until next time, please take care of yourselves and each other. And I will see you all very soon. Good night, guys.